What's going on, guys? It's Michael MGF, and today I am finally doing the showcase video on these two minifigures from the Flash Season 2, Zoom and Jay Garrick. But these two figures I started on like 6 months ago, and but then things like The Force Awakens and Deadpool, Civil War, Batman v Superman, not in that order, all happened, and I wouldn't say they were forgotten, but they were pretty close to it because there was no time to work on them until after I had finished Civil War and until after I had realized there was no possible way my X-Men Apocalypse figures were going to be done on time and that was going to have to be saved for like a month or so from now. I decided I can go back and finally finish these two, maybe in time for the finale, and I almost did. And then a Bricklink order didn't show up on time and I was really sad and that didn't happen. But yeah, I know a lot of comments are going to be, especially now after the finale, I'm just going to get a ton of comments, you know, are you going to make, now that you made these two, are you going to make insert major spoiler here? Maybe, well, I guess I'll talk about that later. But for right now, let's get started. Alright, so starting off with Zoom, of course, I was super excited to get started on this super awesome villain from the Flash Season 2 when the season began last year, and I knew with the right amount of reference pictures I would have the torso and the legs down, but the mask was going to be the real challenge when making Zoom. And while, you know, with, you know, Barry the Flash before when I made him, and, you know, the Reverse Flash, they are different because their mouths are exposed, but Zoom, his mouth is not. His mask covers his entire head, and so I had to figure out a way to adapt that onto this Lego minifigure here. And so what I decided to do was to take the same concept that I used for those minifigures, take an official Lego Flash cowl, sand off the lightning bolts that are on those, and then pretty much just go ahead and make my own lightning bolts, just like I did with those, using the same rubbery material that I still don't have a name for. And I did that, but then I sculpted the entire bottom half and made them as seamless, you know, and I put them together to look as seamless as I could get them. And I think it actually turned out pretty sweet. And as soon as I had the idea, I'm like, I'm doing that, that's gonna work. And I think I really did make it work when I made this last year, right before The Force Awakens, actually, fun fact there. And while there are a lot of painted, you know, lines that you'll see toward the front of the sculpted half of the mask, there are a lot of lines engraved into the entire thing, because as you might know, if you've seen Zoom, there are a lot of wrinkles all over his mask. That's the way it's designed. And so I did my best to portray that here, not only on the sculpted half with the, you know, the engraved marks that you see, but also a few painted wrinkles around the eyes, and that's something I did try to portray on Zoom here. Portray, I can't words, but yeah. So then if we move down onto the rest of the minifigure, you'll notice I do have a pretty significant amount of dots basically to make up this overall dotted pattern, because while his Zoom's costume it does have a lot of blank black sections, you know, that don't have the pattern, there are sections that do, and so I did my best to portray that as well on this minifigure. I think it turned out pretty sweet, and the lightning bolt on his chest I think turned out to be one of the best that I've painted for a Flash minifigure out of the three, so I think it's pretty sweet looking. And also a pair of tiny tactical glove tops always make my minifigures, I think, look that much better for certain characters. But for certain characters it's necessary, and then others it's not. In Zoom I thought he needed a pair, and that's why you see them present on the minifigure here. And so there's that, and then you can pretty much see the rest of the minifigure, all the different dots, all individually painted. And again, the reference pictures, I thought that, you know, making this minifigure a few months later and actually picking up on it after Civil War, there would have been plenty of reference pictures, but I kind of had to wing the sides of his legs and the back, and so I have no idea if what I painted on is accurate or not, but it is what it is. And of course it does wrap around all four sides of each leg, so there's that. And yeah, if we go ahead and remove the top half of the cowl though, you'll see there's nothing there except for a blank black canvas and the eyes. And yeah, that's something that kind of happened with making the Zoom cowl, you know, because I couldn't really make a head underneath there if the bottom half was to, you know, be attached to the head, though, you know, just like the way you see it here. So this pretty much, you can consider this one piece even though it can still separate. So this is pretty much considered to me as being one head. But if we go ahead and guys, I have to warn you here, if you have not seen the Flash Season 2, if you plan on watching it, I do recommend you probably should save this video for another time. There really isn't any way I can continue on without spoiling revealing the identity of Zoom. I made a couple alternative heads that I'm going to show you right now. So yeah, you've been warned. Here we go. All right, so the Hunter Zolomon head, obviously it's just the Jay Garrick head because they are the same person, just one is a time remnant of the other. And so that's pretty much what you see here, just the quote-unquote Jay Garrick head. And I believe this was the Sam Wise head from the Lord of the Rings sets, and then there was another, this head started on another minifigure before that, but I forget which. You can let me know in the comments. So yeah, pretty much just the quote-unquote Jay Garrick head, you know, just without the helmet, of course. So that's the alternative head for Zoom there to represent Teddy Sears. And then also, if you remember in episode 18 versus Zoom, when they think they have Zoom under in custody, they he escapes and he says, "You can't lock up the darkness," and then his eyes, obviously, you know, they go black just like they always do when he has, you know, when he's, you know, active using the Speed Force and everything. And so that's what I did here. I took another one of these heads and then I painted over the mouth and added my own smile there, and I painted over the eyes and added a couple little dots of white in there to represent, you know, kind of like glare, I suppose. And then also the eyebrows are painted dark brown because they do come in a like the head is printed where the eyebrows are actually in a red color. So that's something I knew I had to paint over, obviously, for both Jay Garrick and Hunter Zolomon, and obviously they're the same person. So yeah, there's that, and that is actually pretty much it for Zoom. There isn't a lot else to cover. I'm so glad I was finally able to wrap up this minifigure. He made for a great villain. You know, when the Flash season 1 ended last year, and then we saw, you know, like the Jay Garrick helmet flying through the wormhole from Earth 2, I was like, dude, that's Jay Garrick's helmet. Or at least we all thought it was. And then season 2 came along. My name is Jay Garrick. Your world is in danger. They got a great actor to play Jay Garrick. At least we all thought he was Jay Garrick. And then halfway through the season, we realized he wasn't getting his speed back. They weren't going to fight Zoom together. This jackass was Zoom. Or at least a time remnant of his future self, who was Zoom. And they were both copies of one another with some lunatic master plan to save himself and destroy the multiverse. So he wasn't Jay Garrick. And this figure I made here is a serial killer from a parallel universe who was posing as one of DC's most iconic superheroes. But then we eventually got real Jay Garrick at the season finale, which was amazing. But I didn't know any of this when making this figure, or starting on it at least. So I was like, great. Well, I might as well finish it and throw him in the video and showcase the Jay Garrick that no one wants to see. So this is what it is. I'll make the real Jay Garrick eventually, but for now I've got this lunatic serial killer Earth 2 knockoff. So, yay. Anyway, this minifigure is, I started off with, like, obviously I knew I was going to start off with a Brick Arms Brody helmet, and that's what I did here. Painted the whole thing in my own gunmetal color, and then I did use the same exact rubber material that I used for the Flash lightning bolts and on, you know, a lot of other things as well for the wings, and I do have a couple lines painted onto those on either, and you know, the real challenge with those was not just carving them out, but also gluing them on and keeping them as even and as symmetrical as I could, and I think I did a pretty good job. I think it looked, it ended up, you know, being pretty sweet, and the amount of glue holding them in place is a little ridiculous, but necessary. And then the other challenge with making this minifigure was definitely the hair, because this was my first time taking a hair piece, sanding it in half, and then gluing it to the bottom of a helmet. I'd seen other customizers do this plenty of times, but this was going to be my first, and it turned out being a lot better than I thought it was going to. And the one thing that happened though, the first attempt, this sideburn here snapped off, and so this is actually the second attempt that ended up being the successful one. But yeah, that's painted in my own brown color, just like the alternative Hunter Zolomon head that I've got here. And the head, speaking of which, this is actually the Sam Wise head from the Lord of the Rings sets, and it was also on an A-Wing pilot in like 2013 from the Star Wars sets that came out at that time, and that's where this head comes from. And so I pretty much just painted the eyebrows in my own dark brown color for not only this head, but also obviously the alternative heads that you saw on Zoom, and you know, so there's that. And then also you'll notice that the torso is all fully painted. This entire figure is fully painted except for the face, and the lightning bolt is painted on there, along with the series of buttons, the belt buckles, or the belt buckle on his on the belt piece there, and then the two black lines running from his thighs all the way down to his knees, and then they stop at the boots, and then the boots are just standard dark brown boots with a couple of like lighter brown lines on the front of them. There really wasn't a lot for me to paint when it came to his boots, and then there really wasn't a lot for me to paint on his back either, because there's like barely anything going on the Hunter Solomon's Time Remnants costumes back. So there's that, and then he does have a pair of painted tiny tactical glove tops as well, and I think those really do top off the minifigure and make everything look as consistent as possible. So yeah, aside from that, that's really it for Hunter Solomon's Time Remnant, who went through the breach and was like, hey, my future self said I should pose as this cool guy to you guys, and then we can kill you at some point, and I can be more of a lunatic with, like less of me dying and more of destroying the multiverse. So, yeah, that's what I made. So, yeah, I'm gonna end this showcase video now and put this figure in a spot where I can't see it.
And we would all be safe if you would just do your job and stop Zoom.
Hey, isn't that Hunter Solomon, the serial killer? Alright guys, and there you go, the showcase video on Zoom and his Time Remnant from The Flash Season 2, and if you enjoyed the showcase video though, regardless, or maybe you even found yourself inspired to make your own minifigures from The Flash Season 2, or hell, even Season 3 when the time comes, be sure to let me know by dropping this video a like below and or your opinion on either of these two minifigures down in the comments, guys. Anything at all always means a lot and definitely goes a long way. But I do want to give you a quick update on what's going on with the channel for the next couple of months. My next showcase video is going to be the Captain America Civil War spin-off showcase featuring Crossbones, Zemo, and Agent 13, so that's gonna be pretty sweet. I'm currently working as hard as I can to finish those minifigures up and get that video posted so I can move on to my super incredibly unbearably late showcase for X-Men Apocalypse. I was going to make 8 figures for that movie, and while I couldn't finish them on time because it just happened way too fast following Captain America Civil War, there was no way I was going to be able to make 8 minifigures before X-Men Apocalypse is released, so I was just like, well, might as well finish these two, like I mentioned at the start of the video. But then I walked out of X-Men Apocalypse and I was like, great, now I want to make 10 figures because there were 2 super awesome characters in there that I wasn't planning on making originally. So it's going to be a pretty insane showcase as soon as I am able to finish all 10 of those minifigures. It's going to be insane, guys, and you can look forward to that hopefully in the next month and a half. The current goal is to not only get the entire set of X-Men Apocalypse minifigures done, but also the entire set of Suicide Squad minifigures done before August when I head out to Brick Fair, Virginia 2016, and it's going to be pretty insane getting those 2 massive waves of figures done. But I mean, if I was able to get 11 figures for Civil War done in 1 month, I think I can totally do as many as it's going to be for freaking Suicide Squad and X-Men Apocalypse combined in 2 months. And you'll see all of that over on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram first, and links to all 3 of those are always down in the description below as well. And like I said, just there, you're going to see all of that over there long before you ever see it hit the main channel when it's all said and done. And so you can expect some previews for all the Civil War spin-off minifigures, X-Men Apocalypse, Suicide Squad, and all that stuff, plus the new LEGO Star Wars set reviews in between. I just picked up the Turbo Tank ATTE, and I believe, I don't know, what's this other stuff that I got? It's the, oh yeah, the Pose X-Wing, the new X-Wing from The Force Awakens. So, a lot of stuff! And now you're all up to date on what's going on in MGF land, so I'm gonna head out because I'm gonna die. Okay. Bye! And today I am finally doing the I don't know, what am I doing? The villain of the season, Zoom. No. Yeah, so aside from that, you can definitely... No one says that anymore. You know, kidnapped it.
My name is Jay Garrick. Your world is...
This guy's a past version of an evil speedster from a parallel universe, and he's gonna try to kill us all. Almost, yeah. Damn it! For this minifigure, I think he turned out looking friggin' shit. Well, all three of that, God, So, yeah. I'm done.